now, or she has now, created a world which belongs to that ego. And therefore, I appropriate everything in my experience and in my body, my interest, and said, this is mine.
So,
Okay?
so what I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
is if everything is God,
Yeah,
but God is not the ego.
yeah. The God is not the ego. The God is ego as well, in a sense that everything which is there, everything which is constructed is also God. So if I say to myself, in fact, I am not this ego individuality, but I am divinity, then see how the concept changes as well. Okay? So, and the other thing about it is that, okay, if I say to myself, earlier Lord Krishna was saying that in chapter number 3, that if we can think of the world as gunas, this body mind and intellect as gunas, and this is just a show of gunas playing in the gunas. Yes, that is what he's saying. That this is gunas playing in the gunas. So these are the gunas which are playing in this gunas, which is the external world. And actually it is just a play of the gunas. Now, what are the gunas? The gunas, according to Lord Krishna, is, of course, it is material, which is being created, which is being used in creating this universe, and therefore that is also divine. So, in other words, that what to all these various different things, which is the vibhuti of the Lord, it can be recognized internally as well, in terms of the body, mind, intellect, and whatever is going on, because this is again a material construction. And then at the highest level, it can be recognized as the self within, which is the self everywhere. Right? So the whole kind of challenge for us is what? Is that because everything has been crystallized in this I sense and the ego, that we have now connected everything with the ego rather than with God. So I connect with the world through what? Through the eyes of the ego. When I see my kith and kin in front of me, then it is my kith and kin. It is not the Lord who is represented in this name and form in front of me.
So here's what I've been trying to practice.
Yes.
Which I don't know if it applies to everyone. So every time there is a incident, because we are constantly thinking, I'm constantly thinking of the divine. If there's an incident, I'm actually having a conversation with God to say, stop it.
Yeah.
Why doing this? It's not, surely this is you playing me up.
Yeah.
And then obviously once I have that conversation, then I'm on to the next.
Yeah, so go one step further. Okay, now you're saying, okay, why are you playing this drama in front of me, right? So now go one step further and say, drama is going on. There's a huge difference between saying, God, stop it, why are you doing this? Right? This drama is going on. Instead of saying, I am looking and watching this drama in front of me, why are you doing this? You say, drama is going on, I am just the observer of the drama. I have bought this ticket for this life to watch this drama of life, and I just sit back in my chair, relax, and watch the drama. There is a huge difference between the two, right? So if you go to the next stage, you will see how the mind actually then begins to settle down and say, it's just a drama. Gunas playing within the gunas. A wonderful kind of concept to have, a vision which immediately brings relief to you. Immediately there is a relief because now I am the self, I'm the witness, I'm the seer of all these things, and just sitting back and watching the drama.
Doesn't it go back to what we heard from the earlier chapters when Krishna was saying that once everything is created and it's in play, then it goes by its own rules. He doesn't He's not there manipulating it or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
But it just happens the way it
just
happens. So
happens,
if you
it
look at
happens.
it from that perspective
Right.
and say, well, whatever's happening is because of what's happened in the past, and it's just playing it through.
So the idea is, here's nature which has been created and set in motion according to certain rules and conditions. This is what we know in this universe. Maybe there's another universe with a different set of rules and different set of regulations. So what he's saying is that here is nature which has been put into action through the various, laws which have been created as part and parcel of nature. One of them, of course, is the law of karma. Right? So what he's saying, yes, having put this into motion, I can show you a way of using these laws of Prakriti and getting back to the Purusha. Is what I mean. Okay. So, in other words, the law of karma says cause and effect. If I do certain thing, there's going to be an effect. There's going to be a consequence. I use the cause-effect relationship in order to do good karma, until my sattvic nature begins to rise to the top. And then, using that particular thing, I elevate myself to knowing who I am. Right? So, again, it is not that, yes, this Prakriti is there, and therefore we cannot do anything about it. He says, through the use of your buddhi, you can in fact elevate yourself. That's why he says the mind is your friend, the mind is your enemy. If you use the mind in the right way, it becomes your friend. If you have the right vision and the right meaning, purpose, values, and it will lift you beyond itself and take you to your true nature. So, it is all consistent. Whatever Lord Krishna is saying is absolutely consistent with, what we've been thinking about and what has been preceding and what is going to come after. Okay. So it is a kind of very wonderful way of the whole thing, in the sense that, and why is all this thing being given to us? Why do you think? Why is Lord Krishna giving this to us in the first place? Yes, he is giving this to Arjuna. Arjuna is not Arjuna. Arjuna is a Pandava. Arjuna is you and me. He's telling us that you are in a state of this Vishal. You are in a state of, living a life of individuality, which is undergoing all this kind of conflict and confusion and tension and anxiety, which is exactly what Arjuna was going through. Here's how I'm showing you how to lift yourself out of it completely and be able to stand up in front. Okay. So it is good to, in fact, personalize this knowledge. And I keep on saying that personalize this knowledge for yourself. Otherwise, it remains as an intellectual knowledge. Therefore, each and every verse, what we've got to do is to think about how does this apply to me, and how can I use this in my life, even now at this very moment. How can I use it? Okay. And if you personalize it, it becomes your own personal knowledge. You internalize it, and it becomes a living experience for you. That's what we want, isn't it? That's why we are here. That's why we're listening to this knowledge, because we want to experience ourselves as the true self, and He's showing us the way in which it can be done. So, Prema Bhakti, Jnana Bhakti is setting us all this various different approaches and methods and ways to supreme knowledge, the Vedas as well. And then in the last one, you were saying, I am the whole supreme Lord, witness. So each one of these becomes a subject for our own contemplation, right? So if I say I am the goal, as I was explaining, what goal are we talking about? If I make the Lord as the goal of my life, then the life will begin to change and transform itself in fundamental way. At the moment, I've got so many goals which I am pursuing this and pursuing that and doing this and doing that, etc. So what I need to think about is that really what is my goal in life? Yesterday we were talking about the framework within which we have got to think about life. Feel, meaning, purpose, values. And if you think about what is the purpose of my life, what is the goal of my life? And if I say the goal of my life is to, eat, drink, and be merry, that's fine. But there is a much higher potential, there's a much higher purpose which we can connect ourselves to. And he says, I'm the goal. He says, Lord is the goal. And that goal, which is in me, which is in infinite being, if I can connect to that goal, begin to work towards that goal. That's why, personalize it, personal. He says, I'm the supporter. What does it mean? What does it mean when I think of the Lord as the supporter? What is He supporting? He's supporting me. How is He supporting me? Think about it. So all these things are some various ways in which we can connect with the Lord. And He says, I'm your friend. Suhrita, I'm your friend. Have you ever thought about the Lord as your friend? You think about the Lord as your friend who is ever there to help you and guide you. What does it mean? It means that
it's not for your interest.
that's right. And what?
Stand
Exactly. Stand by you at difficult times, support you, guide you, and tell you on your face what
So when you're praying then,
yeah.
and when you're praying to the Lord to help somebody else,
Yeah.
then are we praying to say to Him, although we're praying for
Yeah. No, it was both ways in the sense. Therefore, I'm connecting myself on one hand to God, and through God, I'm connecting to the other person. Right? So through God, if I connect to the other person, and He says, I'm your refuge. Remember, He's saying, I'm your refuge. So if we take refuge in the Lord, then that means that it is helping us on the one hand to deal with whatever is going on. At the same time, we are sending out this particular message to the other person through God, so that whatever he or she needs will be provided. Remember, Lord Krishna has said that whatever you don't have, I will provide. And whatever you have, I will protect. That is His promise. The Lord has
accept the Lord Karma and I see somebody suffering, and I accept that whatever they're going through, they're doing. Then what am I doing in praying? Am I asking for the wrong thing? Because I should be just accepting that this is what happens to me.
So there is only the asking. Okay. So if we say if the law of karma is going to unfold anyway, and there is nothing I can do about it, whatever is going to happen, okay, that is your product, and that is the product of the other person, right? So I'm experiencing this because of my product, and that person is experiencing because of his or her product. Then what is there? Where is the legal? It's going to unfold anyway. I can't change it. Nobody can. Lord can't change it. Then what am I asking for? Okay. I'm asking that my response to that particular situation or condition is where I can actually get the effect of it. In other words, how am I going to respond to whatever is unfolding? I can't help what is unfolding, okay? But I can measure my response to whatever is happening. That you remember, that is what Gurudev said, that is the Purusha. Purusha is not about trying to manipulate everything and trying to, because it's not going to unfold anyway. Okay. So an incident happens in my life. I know that is part and parcel of the karma which is unfolding for me at this moment. I can react according to whatever past conditioning I have and carry on, perpetuate the cause-effect relationship Or I can say to myself, hang on, pause and think. How am I going to respond? Am I going to respond to this in the way I have always responded, or am I going to respond to this through enlightened understanding, through faith, through sama, dhamma, uparati, all these things which we are talking about recently, right? So if I respond to that in that manner, something changes. My immediate experience, what I'm experiencing changes, and I set into motion another pathway which I'm now developing for myself, because the impression which is created at that moment is different, and therefore the consequence of that impression is going to be different. That's the only thing. So what I'm asking for when I'm praying for somebody is give them the enlightened understanding to deal with the situation, whatever is coming. That's the only thing I can ask. Okay, let's get back to how we can recognize the Lord in various things. So, having said all these things, then to be recognized in this particular verse, number 19, he's going to now conclude about how we can recognize and connect with the Lord. Each and everything you can think about, and of course, the next chapter is finished, but here he's just giving us a flavor of that. So, in the next one, number 19, which we can chant.
Apamyaham aham varsham.
Apamyaham aham varsham.
Nigunam yutsujami cha.
Nigunam yutsujami cha.
Amrutam chaiva mrutyuscha.
Amritam chaiva mrityuscha.
Sadascha chaham arjuna.
Sadascha chaham arjuna.
Apamyaham aham varsham. Nigunam yutsujami cha.
Amritam chaiva mrityuscha. Sadascha chaham arjuna.
So here Lord Krishna says, as the sun I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain, I am immortality also. Okay. So that we are looking at Lord Krishna, who is saying that I am the father, I'm the mother, I'm the creator, I'm the sustainer of this universe, and I'm also the one who is dissolving this whole creation. So what is this referring to? He says that even when we look at the world through our senses, we are seeing that there is something which is giving heat. So this heat which we are having now, this summer weather we are experiencing now. He says, I'm that as well. Because it's getting too hot, now. It's 46, 50 degrees in Spain, I think. So, so then we say, oh my God, it's too hot, too hot, too hot. But that's the Lord. He's giving us heat. Okay. Now, how are we to think here? So here what Gurudev is saying, that the electricity can rightly say, electricity conditioned through all these appliances is really manifesting itself in all these different ways. Okay. So it heat, it can create cold in the fridge, and so on and so on and so on. Okay. But the underlying, the activator or the energizer, applying all these appliances is only one. It is called electricity. Similarly, he says, it is the self which is animating and making each and every aspect of this living world. It is animating everything, and also the inanimate world, whereby whatever is expressing itself is nothing but the self-expressing itself in these various different things, beings, and situations of life. Yeah. So he says the self is one existence, and the phenomena called the sun becomes the source of all the heat for the entire universe. In other words, that again, what he's emphasizing is I am the giver of the heat, Okay, so I am the giver of the heat means that I am the power. I am the electricity behind all these appliances which we see around us, and the plant growing, the flower blossoming, you and me functioning in this way, you listening to me now. What is this? What's the enlightenment? It's the morning self. It says, I am the being behind all equipment, including you and me. The equipment of my body, of my mind, the equipment of my intellect that is functioning because it is being activated and enlivened by nothing but itself is a substratum of the functioning of the body, mind, intellect, and therefore it is also the one which is giving us the experience here and now. So in the same manner, you can think of the sun as giving us the heat, yes, but what is it which is creating this heat? What is the underlying cause? Just like electricity is the cause of all these appliances functioning. It says, I am that underlying heat which is being fed through the body mind. Okay. And then he says, I withhold forth the rain. So he says, here's the sun, here's the and again, the relationship between the sun and the rain is what? I'm sure you must have learned this in primary school, is that the sun, the oceans, and the oceans, that water vapor rises up and it becomes clouds and it can come back down to the earth as rain. Okay. So this kind of heating going on, which creates the water vapor and creates the clouds, and again this rain cycle, the cycle of rain, what it says, that is actually. So in other words, we said just earlier on that the laws of the world and the nature and how it is functioning is also an expression of the divine. And if you begin to recognize that all these things are functioning because, the Lord has created this universe with certain laws which are operating in the universe, and therefore this is what he's also explaining here, is that, the sun and the rain and all the things which are happening on this planet as well are nothing but the operation of those laws, and those laws are not God. So this is another way of putting it. So he says, I sent forth rain and I withhold it as well. So when we see that there is no rain, there is no rain, it's all completely, uh, dried up, everything is dried up, and and the kind of heat which is being created. In the same manner, he says, I'm immortality and I'm also death.
Isn't it just describing the three aspects of the Trinity?
Yeah, so in many ways he's saying that I'm the creator, I'm the sustainer, and I'm also the destroyer. And in between whatever is happening, that is also me. Right? So when he's saying I'm sustaining all these things, he's saying I'm sustaining the heat, I'm sustaining this whole creation. And whatever is happening in the creation, I'm also sustaining that. And I'm responsible for all the actions and all the activities which are going on in the universe as well, right? So, but he's pinning it down to specific things so that we can immediately kind of connect with it, right? So if I describe it in an abstract way, that the Lord is kind of functioning in these laws of the laws of the universe, that sounds a bit kind of high level thinking. But if I pin it down and say the rain, so when I see the rain, I'm saying to myself, oh, now the Lord is bringing forth the rain. So again, it reminds me that is the idea. Actually, the idea of the experience which I'm having, if I can get it associated with divinity, then everything which comes into my experience is associated with divinity, and therefore, what does it mean? Every moment I remember God. Every moment God comes into the equation. Every moment God is in my experience right now, right here.
But that doesn't work with negative experiences, though, because to us, God is always a positive, wonderful, beneficial
So therefore,
entity. How can He sort of bring, pain and hurt and so on?
No. So this is again we have to refer back to what you were saying earlier, the play of the gunas in the gunas, right? So it can be extreme heat, and it can be extreme cold. It can be a flood and everything else. But when I look at that from my point of view, it becomes pain and suffering, and it becomes happiness. You see what I mean? So when I am seeing this world either as painful or as a source of happiness, it is because I'm looking at all these things in relationship to myself. So why do I say that this person is suffering and I am suffering? Is because I'm experiencing the suffering and I'm giving that identity is, and this is the basic principle of Vedanta, is that the mind has got the habit of dislikes on the world. The world is not telling us to do what. World is not telling us to like or dislike. Okay, the animal is not telling us you must like me, and the other animal is saying no, don't like me. Right? It is my mind which is superimposing these likes and dislikes, and because of the superimpositions, there begins to develop a liking and a disliking, the raga and the dvesha, and because of that superimposition on the things of the world, it becomes suffering and happiness. Okay? So it is not the Lord which is causing, it's just my mind which is superimposing all these things. If I take away that superimposition, what remains? What is going on? Lord Krishna says in chapter 5, talking is going on, walking is going on, drama is going on. I do nothing. I just watch and observe, witness.
But sometimes you have to stand and do the right thing. Do you just observe?
No. That comes at a later stage. This comes at a later stage whereby you are able to stand back and observe. In the first stage, that's why chapter number 3 starts talking about what? What is chapter number 3? Karma Yoga, right? So first of all, you got to make the distinction between what is right and what is wrong because we are still in that individuality. As long as we are identified with the body-mind intellect and in the transactional world, we have to function in the transactional world, but with a view that there is a right and there is a wrong. There is a dharma and there is a adharma. So going through that particular pathway, we begin to recognize the good and the bad, and therefore we always now see karma in that beyond this reality is some substratum. That substratum is the self, and then we can begin to say, I do nothing. Who is this I do nothing? It's not the ego which says I do nothing. It is the self which says I do nothing, because it is just a witness. Yeah. So we have to be very clear about this. Don't think that, oh, I do nothing, therefore anything can happen, anything goes. No, we have to start by saying, I have to do my dharma because I'm still in this identification. When I lift myself out of that identification, I have reached a stage whereby a dharma cannot even express itself in my life. Why? Because now it becomes an expression of divinity through the body, mind, intellect. Adharma is out of the question. Then it takes over. The divine operating system takes over. We don't have to do anything. But before that, when the ego operating system is operating, we still have to do right and wrong. We recognize it and do it. So that's what it happens. So he says, I'm immortality and I'm also death. He says, this phenomena which we observe in terms of, the very phenomena of death means what? It means that I bring things to an end. Okay? So the body is going to perish. That means the destruction, like we were saying. But he says, I'm also immortality. What does it mean? It means that the divinity is present in the phenomenal world, which is related to death, and divinity is also beyond phenomena, which is immortality. Again, very clear picture in terms of, remember we were talking about I'm in you and you are in me, I'm not in you and you are not in me. Two reference points. The reference points of the phenomenal world and the reference point of the transcendental world. So again, he's pointing out a very simple way that I'm in the phenomena of the world, but I'm also beyond the phenomena. I'm one reference point is the absolute reality, and the other reference point is the transactional reality, the relative reality. Actually, I'm both. Okay? So, oh, I see death outside. I can see somebody has just passed away, and here, the coffin is being brought out. It is being put in the car. Death. I can see death in front of me. Lord is saying, "Lord, I am death." But he also says, I am immortality. So beyond death is the immortality, and he says, I'm in the phenomenal world, I'm in the transcendental world. He says, I'm existence, I'm non-existence. Okay? Existence again, which aspect? Which aspect is it? Huh? Transactional, phenomenal aspect. Non-existence is a transcendental, or the one which represents the substratum, which represents the absolute reality. So, what Gurudev is saying, it is impossible to know and gain an experience of the total non-existence. Wherever we experience non-existence, we experience it as non-existence that exists. Non-existence that exists. Okay. Wonderful way of putting what? That when we are in the transcendental reality, there is the non-existence of the phenomenal world, but there is still existence. Okay? So seeing the existence in the non-existence is again nothing but divinity. Recognizing the substratum of everything, this is another way of putting it. That I am the existence and I am the non-existence as well. So this again, Krishna is saying that I'm all these things. So there is no excuse. I mean, the challenge for us really at this level, the challenge is what? What is the challenge? What do you think is your challenge in terms of these kind of things?
Recognize the divinity.
That's right. Challenge is how do I, if I say to myself, all this is what Lord Krishna is saying, or all this is divine, all this is expressions of the divine, what is my challenge is to recognize the divinity in everything I see, I hear, and I think about, and in the body, mind, intellect, through the heart, through the mind, recognizing that divinity. Okay? Recognizing that divinity, connecting with that divinity, and experiencing that divinity. That is a challenge. But he has given us all the means by which we can do it. Okay? By whatever we think about, we can connect with the divinity, think about it, and associate it with again and again divinity. And what happens? What do you think is going to be the outcome of all these things? Is that when you begin to recognize what's going to happen?
There's suffering. No suffering.
Huh? Samatvam yoga uchyate. That's what Lord Krishna says. Samatvam, equanimity of the mind. That becomes our immediate experience, right? So that we know that just thinking about gunas, playing in the gunas, this drama unfolding, and I sit back and just watch. Gives me such a kind of calmness in the mind, just knowing that all this is just a drama which is started, which is going through, which is going to come to an end. It's knowing that gives me sense of balance, sense of equanimity. So it's amazing what it can do.
Ramesh, this is essentially what we started chapter 7, which is to say that there is Paraprakriti and
That's right,
Paraprakriti.
that's right, that's right.
And as long as you are thinking about Paraprakriti,
Yes, yes,
it's me.
yes,
As long as you're stuck in Paraprakriti,
Yes.
you're lost.
that's right, that's right.
It's essentially here you're just giving you
Yeah.
different
Yes,
ways
yes.
of Maya,
Yeah.
Paraprakriti
That's
form,
right,
which
that's
again,
right.
forget it.
Yes,
This
yes, yes.
Paraprakriti
Yes.
is
So in other words, the interpretation completely changes. See, at the moment, we are looking at Prakriti, and now we are saying to ourselves, Prakriti in relationship to me as this individuality existing in this Prakriti. Yes. So my reference point is what? My, me, and mine. What the Lord is saying, in fact, you can flip the coin around and say to yourself, it's not me and mine, it is thee and thine. And as long as you change that particular vision, everything changes. It's a question of just changing the vision, like you said. Change that vision, everything changes. Right? And when you see God everywhere, divinity everywhere, that vision changes. When the vision changes, thought changes. When the thought changes, the experience changes. The construction you yesterday. The construction of the experience of the body, mind, intellect completely changes because we see the world in a different light altogether. We see it through the divine eyes. Just like Lord Krishna gives Arjuna that temporary glasses to put on, right? Which we'll see later on. Temporary, what do you Divya Chakshu, just to see this divinity here and now, present here. So also he's telling us, in fact, you can construct those glasses yourself and see this divine divinity throughout the world. And when you begin to change that vision, and you change your thinking, and you change the relationship which you have with the world, because of the change of vision, everything changes.
But it's not easy, isn't it, Ramesh? Because
No.
even if you try to change your vision, people try to pull you
Yeah,
into this. Why
They
are
will
you not
change it.
playing the game of me and mine?
Yeah. So what happens is drama is going on. Here's the actor who is a bad guy. Here's the villain. Here's the good guy. Here's the one who's there, and here's the policeman, and so on and so on. I got many people in my drama in my life as well. Okay, so I say to myself, I know divinity is playing through this. I'm going to play my role and enjoy. That's all. Other people can become, cops and robbers. Yeah, that's fine. Let the drama go on. I don't have to declare anything. I don't have to declare the inner state of my consciousness or anything if I just play the role as I'm playing now. The actor on the stage may have experienced a trauma in the morning, and that trauma is with him when he goes on the stage. Or he may have experienced a revelation in the morning, but when he goes on the stage, he plays his role. Nobody knows this guy has undergone a trauma in the morning. Nobody knows. They are just watching. So just like that, nobody has to know. Nobody has to know. I'm on the spiritual path. I go to classes every week. I know Vedanta. You don't know Vedanta. This is what Vedanta is. Now forget it. Who's going to listen to you anyway? I live my life in this quiet way, a spiritual life which nobody knows about. I go into the world, nobody knows I'm a spiritual person. I play my drama, I do my role, I play my role, and I carry on with my that's all.
You do that when you see people are doing things that is affecting a wider
Sure.
population, right? Like, so, for example, if you see people damaging the environment,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, it affects everybody.
No, that's fine. But what is part of my drama? Lord Krishna says the part of your drama is to do your dharma. That's your dharma drama. Okay? That dharma drama has to be played for you as a role. So why is he telling Arjuna to play that role? He says you have to play your role because you are Kshatriya Standing in the middle of the battlefield, you do your drama by hitting all these people. In fact, these people are already dead. I will show you that they are already dead. Okay? And I'll give you this lens to see that they are already dead. You play your part. You are the nimitta karana, he tells it. You are just an instrument. And if you are an instrument, you are my instrument to play the role of saying, Dharma is what I stand for, adharma is what I will fight against. So it doesn't stop you from. That's why it keeps on telling, stand up and fight, stand up and fight. We have to stand up and fight. If we see something wrong being done, stand up and fight. Don't say, no, no, I'm a spiritual person, I'm not going to get involved with. No, that's not the point. If you see a dharma, that's what it is saying. There for the time being, and then we carry on with the next part, where now he's talking about, the two verses which follow, number 20 and 21. He's talking about this kind of, yeah, you can go deep into it, but even at the surface, you can play with spirituality as well. So, he's not giving us any leeway. He says, if you want to go deep, you can go deep. If you want to play on the surface, you can play on the surface. Either way, you get the benefit of spirituality. Okay? So Karma Yoga is what he's going to describe for us in the next two verses. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kasyat Dukhabhat Bhavati Asato Ma Satyamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam